everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Well, I keep wanting to say Saturday. It's officially a Sunday afternoon. I don't know what time it is. It is 3 in the afternoon on the Pacific side of this world. We are super stoked to be here for BRIC today. I hope everyone is having a wonderful BRIC Summit. I hope every webinar that y'all have joined today has been great. My name is Megan. I work over at Wacom. And I'm really excited because I have three of my most favorite people in the animation industry here with me today. Vinod, Todd, Raha. If it rhymes, it goes. We're going to do a quick little round of intros, and then we're going to jump into some questions about their experience, how they got where they are, the industry, I don't know, whatever else we might wander into. And then, of course, the Q&A is open for y'all if you have questions, and we'll get to those probably closer towards the end. But let's do some intros. And I want to start with you, Raha. Hi, good morning.
Hey. Hi, guys. Nice to meet you. My name is Raha. I'm an Iranian storyboard artist. I am a Cal State Fullerton alumni. I'm super passionate about animals and food. My current obsession is street tacos. So
Love this
very
for
into
you.
that.
I love this for you. Great, great.
Yes.
Awesome. Todd, take it away.
Hi, I'm Todd Hoppmeyer. I go by Todd Hop Art online. I do storyboards and animation in LA, and I like long walks on the beach, telling good stories by the campfire, all those fun things, and just love talking about cartoons and animation.
Fun, fun fact, and we could refer to this as a Todd fact. Todd is extremely knowledgeable in the history of animation. So if you ever are out about in the greater Los Angeles area, and are curious, just shout Todd facts, and he'll I think you're like a genie, and you'll just appear and with these factual bits of information. So thanks, Todd. All right, Vinod, you.
Hello, my name is Vinod. I am currently in Los Angeles as an artist. I started my career way back, and my first credit was on The Croods. And this was before I was born and raised in this little island in the Middle East called Bahrain. And I moved to America for this gig. And now I'm a technical director slash scene planner on the Simpsons movie. And in my free time, I like road trips. I go to the Grand Canyon about 4 times a year, and and I like all things outdoors and adventures because this job has kept me on my screen for about 16 years. So I like going outside.
That's a great topic that maybe we'll get into a little towards the end, but I love that all of you, there's animals, outdoors, long walks on the beach. Hopefully, s'mores are involved in your campfire story. But the outdoors is always a great balance for an indoor digital art career. So don't forget to go outside and drink water on occasion. These are things I forget to do. So
Oh
I'll
yeah,
remind you.
cheers to that water.
Do as I say, not as I do. All right. Well, we are going to jump into some questions. And if anyone out there that is tuned in, my plan, we'll see how it goes today, is to keep this super conversational. So if you do have questions that are topical, that like pertaining to that specific question, I'll try to get to them. But again, we'll probably round out to those questions towards the end. So first question, really about getting your foot in the door. So think back, guys, to when you guys were all starting out, whether it was post university or whatever that first internship was. What actually worked for you when to first like break into the industry or get into the industry? What was that? What actually was the method that made you get and land that first gig?
Well, I just jumped through a window of the art director and was like, "Hey, you're gonna give me a job, whether you like it or not." He's like, "Okay, sure, man, just get him."
You go draw.
I'm looking for Todd. Yeah, he
Yeah.
just left.
That was that guy. No way.
Perfect, perfect.
No, I mean, I think for me, it's come down to really who I know,
Mhm.
and it started from my internship at Cartoon Network, and just friends have helped me along the way. Building relationships and
Cool.
connections, I think, is probably and still is the best way I found a way to getting in and keeping jobs. Actually, is
Yeah.
just your connections, your friendships, and
Mhm.
and building relationships. Really, that's that for me, and they're all like backdoor ways too. I went the production route. I was a production
Oh,
assistant.
very smart.
I even did stereography at one point, like the 3D stereography. But there's all weird roundabout ways, and each one of those ways was a weird road of meeting
Mm-hmm.
people. And eventually they
Mm-hmm.
kind of redirected me. Oh, I know this person because it's a small industry, and they always someone will need help at some point, someone will need
Sure.
something, and they will turn to their friends and ask, "Hey, do you know a person who can do this or a person who knows this?"
That is
And
great.
if you
Yeah.
happen to be that person, just your friend and you're in the forefront of someone's mind, they'll
Mm-hmm.
happily recommend you and connect you with that person. And hopefully that builds a new relationship. And it just keeps, a domino effect of building relationships and connection. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think networking has kind of I don't know, a cold connotation to it. I think it's
Sure.
about building relationships. We're all working together as a team
Mm-hmm.
in productions. No one person is the uh, one that gets it all done. We all work together. So by
Right.
having that strong um, team mentality and
Mm-hmm.
building that connection, I think that was what makes you go farther and get in. Um, but yeah,
That is
that's what I would
great.
say.
Yeah, the
Oh,
power of relationships. That's also a great note on networking. I feel like the perception of networking, it's terrifying. We're all, I think for so many artists, we're all introverts on any given day, and you're like, ugh, but networking. But networking isn't solved in the moment you meet that person. It is about the relationship building. So great, great
yeah,
points.
on that, well, I started, so like I mentioned, I came from the Middle East, so I was when I explored the world, the whole language barrier or the accent
Hmm.
barrier and understandability was always a challenge. So innately, I just got introverted because of that fact, and then. But I was very lucky. Very early on in my college, I was about 18 or 19, and I found this thing called SIGGRAPH. And honestly, that's when I realized
Mm.
that being a student has so many perks apart from just being a student is that you get to all these opportunities as student volunteers because
Hmm.
everyone needs these volunteers where you kind of take on mundane gigs but you're at like Comic Cons or in my case SIGGRAPH. So I kind of got thrown into the world of networking without even knowing that was networking, but then in my head, and it's remained the same now since 2010,
Hmm.
is that it's always about making friends.
Hmm.
Networking is I feel like the word has too much of a weight. And
Sure.
but it's actually so simple. It's just about making friends, being a normal person, and having good conversation, and
Yeah.
and you end up just having making friends for life that you don't even know it. And
Hmm.
honestly,
Yeah.
like and when Todd mentioned that getting his start was through people he knew, and that was the exact same thing for me as well. Where through SIGGRAPH, I just inadvertently met so many people over time that could vouch for me.
Hmm.
And you need people to take a chance on you. This
Yeah.
is an industry where there's about 3,000 people doing the exact same thing, and
Hmm.
you need someone to really vouch for you as a person first, because it's a people business. You're working with,
Yeah.
Sure.
when you recruit, when you hire people, you're looking for personalities. You're looking for
Yeah.
people that
Hmm.
you get along with because you're going to be spending a lot of time together. If it's a feature, if it's a TV, you're spending like almost day and night in a way, and it's for years on end. So for example, Raha and I met on at work. We met working on the show called Proud Family, and but Raha can all speak on this as well. Is that the crew was it was so weird. Like we were all friends. We were all so close. We all got along, and we were like, okay, this is. And we would go to work wanting to hang out with friends, and then
Yeah.
obviously the work kind
Yeah.
of translated from that. So.
Hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, and yeah, it's I like to think of this as art second, people first, like where, um,
Interesting.
where
100%.
that's why you develop a personality. And for me, places like SIGGRAPH or being thrown into,
Hmm.
events. And I always say that events has
Hmm.
been a parallel passion for me. And it's because through that means I understood when not to say something, when to say something, reading the room,
Yeah.
Hmm.
kind
Hmm.
of feeling out the situation, when not to just show your demo reel in public, 'cause that's happened.
Save it
Sometimes
for
you just,
later.
sometimes you're there to make a human connection, and it's not always about the work. So, but yeah, that's me.
That is funny. I love that. What about you, Raha?
Yeah, same. It's like Cal State Fullerton alum. I think there's a sense of like real, like, I feel like obsession is a strong word, but this like genuine curiosity of like, how can I get into this space that kind of
Hmm.
got me to where I am? I asked everybody in my school, I was like, what do I need to do to like draw every day? Who do I need to talk to? And I feel like people have this like natural community they start to build of like
Yeah.
who they want to be around, talk about your excitements, talk about your ambitions, what's exciting for you, how can you tweak it to make it better. And it's like almost like building this community. And I had that at Pencil Mileage Club at Cal State Fullerton, and that was really helpful. I was around a bunch of like background artists, like character
Cool.
designers, all pieces and parts of, and people who wanted to be in production, all pieces and parts of like what makes animation. And I think it's a lot about like community, excitement, and curiosity for the craft. Yeah, staying connected with those and networking, and just that was kind of how I got my foot in the door. Closed mouths don't get fed. And I asked a lot of questions. I was really like, I
Wasn't
came
a
from a genuine place, because
yeah.
what's better than drawing every day and making people feel good and like resonating with them through your drawings? It's just, oh my God, like what's a better feeling than that? So I think that drove me to where I am is, questions, community, and curiosity. Lots of
I
seeds.
that
Curiosity
is
goes a long way,
it
by the way.
Yeah.
sure
100%.
does.
Yeah.
Ask
That's
questions,
Yeah.
I think that's a great, ask questions 100% because how do we know? And it's always
Oh,
this
yeah,
funny
there's
thing,
Yep.
even, for the folks that I work with every day, we're like, I don't know. How do we do this? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna figure it out.
People
And
need
there's
people.
no harm in being curious for
I
sure.
mean, there are times when, let's say if someone new joins the team, and obviously there's a pressure of kind of proving yourself and all the good stuff, and you want to get everything right on your first try for some reason. But, but when we recruit somebody, it's actually more of a concern to us if they're just quiet the whole time and not asking any
Yeah.
questions. More
Sure.
than, I mean, nothing's ever overbearing and nothing's ever a stupid question. So you just freaking ask questions about everything around you. It's okay.
Hmm.
And sometimes if, your new perspective will make us maybe think of something
Yeah.
differently. So there's always open to a conversation, and that'll only
Hmm.
happen if you are curious about it.
Here's a question that I have for you, and goes back to something you said, Vinod, of learning how to read the room, and then you also mentioned when you guys recruit new folks, and I would imagine this is probably some like early entry level artists, maybe they're folks straight out of college, or if it's an internship. What's advice, and this I'll ask to all of you, what are some tips for young people? Because I think it's often, especially in a professional setting, when you are in these team environments, especially if you're a new person in a team that is a tight team, that's already a family, they've got inside jokes. You're like, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what they're making fun. Like, I just don't know. How do you, as a new person, how do you like break into that? How do you kind of start to knit yourself in without going too over the top? Because I think that's also a big concern of like, how many questions are too many questions? You know what I mean?
Right,
I think
right,
it's
right.
its thing, and then we all become very self-conscious, and then our minds
Yeah.
are reeling. Well, how do you, or do you have any advice, like to kind of break and figure out that balance? How doth one
Well, I
learn
mean,
to read a
how
room? Yeah.
does no, I mean, well, one ththing is if you're when we're hiring new people, or fresh off the,
Hmm.
college folk, is that we're not looking for Disney artists. We're like when you're recruiting at Disney, we're not expecting you to be ready to be a Disney artist. We can
Good to know.
elevate you in time, but
Hmm.
but it's like the mentality you carry. So be yourself in those moments, because we're looking for personalities at that point. We're looking
Hmm.
for people to work with, that people that you can sort of work with, bring up, and eventually kind of get you to be a Disney artist. But
Sure.
that openness, that trainability factor, where
Hmm.
you're okay to make mistakes, and that's where you really learn from, is making mistakes. So be open to making a mistake, learning from it, open to critiques, and you're
Hmm.
just, yeah. So we look for personalities when we're recruiting, especially at the trainee or internship level. We're not
Hmm.
looking for like, you're set, you're good to be an art director. That's not what we're looking for. So go easy on yourself and just focus on you as a person, and your portfolio will take care of itself over time. So, and you also have help from everybody around you to elevate you. So, yeah, it just comes down to the openness that you portray. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Raha, I feel like you had a thought behind
yeah,
that. I saw your little eyes of like, yes.
she
Yeah.
perked up.
Well, because I think in my mind, it's like, if I'm going to be around these people all day and it's my first day on the
Hmm.
job, what excites you? What makes you
Right.
excited?
Yeah.
Because you're going to learn about me eventually, but I'm here. It's
Right.
my first day. And it's always intimidating. But what's better than showing your most authentic self, your curiosity about
Hmm.
another person and what gets them excited, why they're here, what's their story, like what's their elevator pitch if they're really in a rush, you know? It's like I think like it's going back to my first question. I think
Yeah.
there's just a real genuine excitement on your first day to know that they're there as you are. You're in the same space that they are, whoever you're working with.
Hmm.
So get to know them. Maybe you guys have an interest in mind. Maybe you guys have a hobby that's the same.
Yeah.
What if somebody plays chess? Like get
Yeah.
into it. I've had a huge chess obsession recently. So anytime I'm in a new space, I'm like, so does
Who
anyone play
loves
any
chess?
chess? You know, it's like trying to just get to know people on that level. So I think it just comes from curiosity. And like Vinod said, nothing better than yourself. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
show up
Yeah.
as you, and someone's bound to be like just magnetic towards that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever met an animator I didn't like. Also full of personality, which I feel like is a very um not underrated, it's not the word I'm looking for. It's just one of the unspoken skills that we oh my gosh, now we're gonna start playing chess in the chat. It's one of those unspoken skills that I think kind of comes with the territory. And
Well,
just great
I've
people.
always
Yeah.
said that, in order to be relevant in the industry, you have to have a healthy amount of insanity, where you're kind of you're
Love
kind of
that.
crazy about something, like so.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this industry itself, innately, like you can't do it if you're not crazy about it. Where
Yeah.
I'm crazy about animation, I'm crazy about telling stories, I'm crazy about making wacky characters move in a wacky
Yeah.
way. So,
I love that.
like so and in order for you to bring that to the fore, you have to kind of explore so which is, in Raha's case, if she picks up chess, like she's obsessed about it. So you pick up hobbies and get obsessed with it. And it
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, I have about 13 different hobbies in this room that I'm sitting in right now. So I've got a 3D printer, I've got some other stuff going on.
Gotta
So
keep your brain going.
just keep it
Yeah.
going all the time. Yeah. And, and you don't want to get too like into something and then it's going to burn you out over time. So pick up other things and get wild with it.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I want to do a slight, we're going to meander down the fork in this road. I don't remember who mentioned it. Portfolios. Um, I feel like we're not going to get into a full conversation on portfolios, but what's one, or if you have like a couple pieces of advice for someone's portfolio, how to make it stand out? Knowing that, like you said, Vinod, a lot of recruiters, you're not looking for, unless you're applying for an art director position, different story,
Right.
not necessarily looking for like gorgeous polish, whatever that is. So what are some of those techniques, tactics, things you can include to make it, I don't know, stand
Todd,
out,
I
seem
think
different, be
Todd's been
fresh?
quiet. I'm going to throw this to
Todd,
Todd first.
Todd, go.
Well, I haven't had the chance to actually review portfolios myself, and be in that position. But I feel like I think one of the things that stands out to me when I'm talking to other artists and when they're showing me their portfolios or asking me stuff to stand out, I think foundations stand out. I think if you understanding core basics really makes you stand out for
Mm-hmm.
it, like understanding perspective. Understand the scary stuff, the hard stuff. Understand the
Mhm.
form, shape, space, and composition. Composition's a big one, especially in storyboarding when you have to really pay attention to how composition affects the storytelling and the
Mhm.
staging of scenes. It's a really important aspect, and how to really ground your characters in perspective when their feet look flat in that space. It's a very important aspect because, especially on storyboarding on my end, what you do trickles down to the rest of the production since you're at the very beginning of production. If your
Mhm.
storyboards don't have a solid understanding of the foundational aspects of drawing, then it's going to trickle down and everyone else has to fix it. And it's
Oh,
having the mentality of a production as well and thinking that other
right.
people will be doing corrections if I don't make those or have that solid foundation. So
Mhm.
I think solid drawing foundations like that, I stand out to me because I don't see it as often. And I'm often, as a supervisor, I'm correcting a lot of that.
Oh,
And
interesting. Yeah.
it puts more work on the back end when we're trying to ship out an episode. So
Mhm.
yeah, just really understanding perspectives, just a really big one, I think. And it's just,
Mhm.
it's scary at first, but once you learn that, one of the tricks that a background artist told me is that you don't have to be mathematically correct, because mathematically correct actually doesn't look right sometimes. It's
Oh.
what looks right and what
Exactly.
feels right. That's where the art aspect comes in.
Mhm.
You can measure and get it, but if it doesn't look right, it doesn't feel that vibe,
Mhm.
then it's not right. So there's a lot of, it's not as scary as you think. And when I show people that, they're like, Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, hands also. If you can do hands, that's a really, really hard one. People hide them in their
Hands.
pockets,
I know.
but
Everyone's like,
yeah.
Press hands.
But hands
I-
are are part of people's personality. When people talk, I'm doing it right now. When people
yeah.
talk, their hands are all over the place. They're disappearing too. But
Hands and eyes,
hands
I
and eyes,
mean,
yeah.
if you take a look over there, there's about like 50 sketchbooks, and one of them is just hands.
Yep.
It's literally like
Wild.
just
Yeah.
about 50 pages of just hands. You know? Um, no. But I mean, as someone that I have been looking at portfolios for the past decade of my life because I do a lot of these engagements through these even through Wacom and through SIGGRAPH and Lightbox. I do a lot of portfolio reviews and my answers are similar to Todd. And I was thinking about all the words he used, and I'm going to use the same words philosophically because a lot of times when you look at portfolios, you can see the inspiration that they've taken from. You can see where they've taken their
Mhm.
style from. But the thing that I see that's lacking the most is just personality. And when you say perspective, it's your point of view as to how you look at things. So like
Mhm.
we like seeing personality through the portfolio. And sometimes quality over quantity. You don't have to,
Mm.
throw in like 100 drawings on there, but maybe like a solid 10 would, as long as it conveys, it's clear, it's
Mhm.
easy to view, and you're looking at a portfolio that you know what kind of person they are. Because most of the time, that's the first thing you're looking at. When you get hundreds of portfolios through the chain when you're recruiting, and all you get to see is their website or their demo reel or their
Mhm.
resume. And this is before you've even met the person. So you want to be able to tell as to what kind of
Mhm.
person they are through their branding, through their way of the way they carry themselves, the fonts they use. Get specific, attention to detail really, like, it gets noticed. So you, as specific as you get, and it's all visual hierarchy. Everything that you apply to art, apply it to your portfolio, your presentation, and that's when you really portray who you are. Because I
Mhm.
mean, we haven't met you yet, and so this is our maybe a few minutes of getting to know who you are instantly. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's something that I've seen done well and not so well in portfolio land.
To build off what you said, I think it's and to combine what you said with what I said, those foundations, but you can take those, like, those are rules, but you can always break them once you learn them, and that's where you get your
Sure.
personality from.
Sure.
You show that you can understand perspective, but you understand that you're doing it correct. Because a lot of supervisors will be able to tell if you know it and are breaking it in the right way. So I think that's a good way to bring personality into
Mhm.
your portfolio as well.
There's no
Just to
wrong
build
way.
off that. No, there's no wrong way. Exactly.
There's no wrong way to art until there
And,
is, but there isn't. There isn't.
some things can look wrong, but it's with good lighting and composition.
We'll
We'll fix it in post. It's fine.
Oh,
fix it
please.
in
Yeah.
post.
Yeah. There you go. Then
As
we'll fix
someone
it
that
in
works
post.
in post-production, I'm triggered.
Just crying right now.
Yeah.
Sorry. Be considerate. Going back to what Todd said, be considerate of those
Yes,
down the pipeline,
please.
whoever's going to get this piece of
Name
this
your
illustration.
layers.
Yeah.
Okay?
What?
Name your
Name your
layers.
layers.
Name your
File
layers.
organization's big.
We're
Oh
now
man.
going to completely pivot to the importance of naming layers in file
By
management.
order of Vinod.
That is a whole topic. Think about that, folks. Just as an aside, name those layers, properly name your files. Final,
be
final,
nice.
final V2, final,
Yeah.
the date, actual final,
Locked. Final.
PNG. Yeah.
Locked.
There was a good question about portfolios. What kind of traits, and Vinod, you touched on this a little bit. What kind of traits, hobbies, or interests are important to include in a portfolio or elevator pitch? You said something about personal branding, which kind of then is a whole other thing that people need to learn of how do you identify. Raha, I think you also mentioned elevator pitch earlier too. How do you have an elevator pitch for yourself? Not that you have to spring it on us now, but how would you format that? Like, how do you figure out what that is for yourself as a creative?
Trial and error.
I just you're like,
This
didn't
is
work, didn't feel right, gotta go out of this elevator. Let me
Out, 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 out. Vinod and I actually talked about it a bit ago, and there was one point that really stuck home for me when he had mentioned it. It's like, what's your font look like? Like,
Oh,
who are
yeah.
you in, right? Like, what does your signature look
Right.
like? What's your font? And
I
I
love
think
that.
it's, I think what I've been learning recently, it's a lot about channeling like who you are, what your voice is, and
Hmm.
taking confidence in that. And I think that kind of shines through, and who inspires you, I think is a big
Hmm.
one for portfolio as well that kind of shines. Like a lot of people when they see my stuff, it's like, oh, there's very Miyazaki like
Hmm.
features in your boards. And I was like, well, yes, I study him greatly. Like
Yeah.
it's like sort of that kind of shines a little bit
Yeah.
through. But so yeah, I think it's a lot about like just owning what you're passionate about and like leading that with the forefront. The font
Hmm.
comment that Vinod made with me the like a little bit ago was really impactful because I was like, oh, who am I in a font? Who am
Hmm.
I in a color or in a background?
Right.
What's your business card going to look like? Obviously, what
Yeah.
kind of background do you want in there? I think I have one here, but I think that was like pretty impactful for me of just
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
That's
art
a great
directing
way to
And
yourself.
frame it.
slightest detail.
consistency in a way, right? Like you're kind of thinking about it all in under one big brand book. I mean, I fortunately for me, I started my very beginning of my career in graphic design. Like
Hmm.
I come from a country where animation doesn't, the industry doesn't exist. So I took up a job in commercial.
Hmm.
So I learned about brand guidelines and etc. So you start to like, be able to know how to create a identity that way.
Hmm.
So that way, like if you see something out there, and people have sent me, things that they're like, this looks like a you thing, and I was like, it's not, but I get it, So, like anything with like my sort of style or depiction,
Hmm.
it gets traded to me, but that takes time, which is why I said trial and error,
Yeah.
where giving yourself time really, a lot of people get into this rut of, kind of instant gratification and
Hmm.
wanting to get to the result quickly, but it's all about the process. I mean, if
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
constantly think, like, let's say if you're animating a shot and you're constantly thinking about the way the shot's going to look in the end of it, then it's going to fall flat and it's going to be more
Mhm.
frustrating. But if you enjoy the process as to the way you're doing it, and then every step of the way, if you create like a nice little system for yourself, and like and when you say branding, you start thinking about the key colors, the accent colors, the font, and the shape language, the breaking down of your website, your portfolio, your resume.
Hmm.
When you start to build that from ground up, the process makes it a really fun task, or sort of, and then
Hmm.
you'll eventually get to a point where you'll start to cruise, and or Raha says coasts with this with the brand that you're looking for, and
Hmm.
you'll be like, oh, I like doing this. I'm just going to keep going with this, and then that'll
Yeah.
reflect with everything that you create. I mean, nowadays with Instagram and Meta's policies going here and there, people are creating new pages in ArtStation, and there's a
Hmm.
new one coming up each time, so you have to create all these layouts all the time. So, but yeah, give yourself time, and sort of keep trying things.
Hmm.
Be nice to yourself. You want to immediately find your branding. You'll be like, this is who I am, and that's it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Right.
it'll also evolve. So,
If I
over
may,
time.
really quick, I actually
Yes,
brought
please.
out my business card just
Which
for
I
the reason of
love.
like, I just thank you. I literally wanted it to be elevator pitch. Like, I like my hair. I like bright colors. Story artist. Yeah, let's chat it up.
All the
Like it's
things.
simple. All the things, little QR code thingy. It's like
Brilliant.
just a way to make it fun, quick, concise. Who are
Hmm.
you? Well, there was someone who I remember giving me a business card for their story artist that like had a dog on the front and then a dog on the back. And like when you would flip it, it was like this really
Oh,
memorable, distinctive thing. And it was all like, I believe it was based on their dog. So they're very passionate about animals. They love
yeah.
story. They love kind of like
Yeah.
animating to that degree. So I immediately knew who they were based on just their business card. So
That is brilliant.
it's
You can
fun,
say,
right?
yeah, you can say a lot with a business card. And I
Oh,
think there's
absolutely.
also for that branding part, Vinod, of like just stick with it, like kind of figure out, is papyrus your font? Go with it, see where that
If it
takes
works
you.
for you, I'm not
If
against
it were, if you can make it work,
it.
you can do that. And it always, I feel like it could feel a little awkward of like you just gotta let it simmer for a little bit, but then also everything at any moment could be daunting and overwhelming, thinking about how people are actually perceiving this and what is that reaction. But when you have something as fun as like your business card, Rahav, like this is you, it's fully you. I have actually your business card sitting here somewhere. I have just like the wall of ones that I like because they're fun, but they're super memorable. So I think that's a great takeaway. Also, gonna say business cards are not dead. As someone that does have an old Rolodex of business cards, there's a time and a place for a good, fun business card. So
Agreed.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Let's talk. I want to actually go another fork in the road. Not a full pivot, just another fork. Todd, when we were talking about kind of where you guys got your start, you had mentioned kind of coming into storyboarding from a different angle. Like you went in through production and kind of these side channels adjacent to the industry. Um, are there skills from outside the animation industry that have had a big impact on your guys' careers, and what would those skills be? Pop
I
quiz.
think building a variety of like skill sets. Like
Mhm.
I kind of have something like Vinod said, where I started in some graphic design as well
Mhm.
and doing ad work, and that kind of helped me build my portfolio and connect with other people and other uh, parts. Like a good example is I'm a transplant to LA, so I
Mhm.
didn't know anybody for a long time, and I worked in the estimations department, the budgeting side at Warner
Whoa.
Yeah,
Brothers. So it was very unartistic,
very
but
maybe the
I'm
farthest away. Yeah.
yeah, but I had a graphic design and ad background, and I was able to apply that to a commercial house. And someone
Mm.
in the office knew the commercial house and connected me with them and was able to get me to do some storyboarding for commercials. And that's how I kind of got that start for that. And then
Cool.
gradually you meet more people that way. But I think having a variety of skill sets, looking outside of just animating,
Hmm.
and it goes back and it allows you to build your brand by learning graphic
Hmm.
design, learning different art, even just it's just adjacent art skills,
Hmm.
understanding film. I've been able to jump into live action film because of storyboarding,
Hmm.
because I understand camera work. I understand how live action will think. I understand the lenses and stuff and how to board that.
Hmm.
Those learning stuff that's adjacent to your skill set
Hmm.
is very helpful because, like I said earlier, you never know what someone will need, and it's a small industry. Once you connect, you help that person out,
Hmm.
they'll recommend you to someone else, and that's kind of how I've gotten my
Yeah.
roundabout trail is building those adjacent skills, and it's allowed me to
Hmm.
kind of eventually pinpoint to animation in
Right.
some weird
Right.
way.
Word of mouth.
Yeah,
I
word of
love
mouth.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. Are there any unexpected like skills, maybe from prior jobs that you guys have had
Oh, yeah.
that translate well within the animation industry outside of being a good person and nice to work with?
Retail will humble you.
Yes,
Retail
Yes.
but
will
Yes.
humble
build good
you.
people skills though,
Oh, yeah.
Great people
and how to
skills.
sell. Yeah.
Quite honestly, yeah.
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 Yeah, I've had a fairly straightforward career. I've never worked in production
Hmm.
but then before I started my career, like I said, graphic design. But before that, when I was 17, I worked at the F1 circuit in Bahrain as
Wild.
that was my first gig, and I did odd jobs. I did catering. I had to hold plates, and
Hmm.
I had to learn how to balance champagne glasses and all that good stuff. But the transferable skills from any point in life, which is why I don't disregard almost any experience.
Yeah.
You can do anything and then take something away from it. So, from in my case, I've been a fan of saying yes to most things when someone offers it to me. So I started my career as a 3D generalist, and then I went into 2D animation, and then I went into visual development, and then I worked in VFX in live action, worked on music videos for like a couple of years, and then I just got dragged into the world of technical direction, and then I've just kind of, been a leaf in the water and just kind of gone with the flow and see what's up. But and I've never disregarded any skill sets that I've taken from any
Hmm.
of these jobs or any moment in my life. Because I mean, like I said, I love events so much because and that has nothing to do with art sometimes. When I'm working an event, it's programming and
Hmm.
scheduling and understanding people and what people want so like I've never worked retail, but F1 was the closest thing I came to working directly with people and frustrated people and people that don't have time to
Hmm.
let you wait for them for a second. So it's yeah, and you just start to like take one quality out of it and go like, okay, that's that. It wasn't a total waste. I picked up
Yeah.
the skills of patience from this job, you know?
Yeah.
I
I
used
think
to
as an
work. Oh, sorry. Go
animator
ahead.
too. Oh, actually, to build
No.
off what you said, Raha, earlier, working service jobs, and I've heard other animators talk
Hmm.
about this. It's funny because sometimes you'll pull from those experiences in your main job for
Yep.
animation. You'll think like, there's a weird tick my coworker had that one time when I was working at a restaurant, and you implement that into an
Oh,
animation.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so
Oh,
those life experiences of outside jobs will impact you in some way, and you can pull from those as experience, and it makes your animation, your artwork more relatable. And
yeah.
I,
Oh my God.
yeah,
I no, I was yeah, I resonate so truly with that because this industry or this path of life that we've all chosen for ourselves, it's not one that you show up at work and it's like a robotic job and then you do it and you put headphones on and you take off at
Yeah.
6 p.m. Like every moment of the day, you're there thinking about your memories, your experiences, your emotion that day. It literally sometimes your animation depends on how you woke up that morning,
yep,
how you felt
hmm
that day and the conversation you had the previous day. So there's it you bring everything to the fore when you're animating or when you're creating something, and it all comes from life. I mean, every story that's ever been told in this world came from
Hmm.
a conversation that someone had somewhere.
Yeah.
So it dates back to all the way to children's book, all these mythologies. It's all a conversation that led to a story, and that is a beautiful thing to be a part of, where you show up at work and then, like even in my case, like it's say for even in the case of Simpsons, let's say if Bart is going through something, you kind of relate to a moment that
Hmm.
in your childhood, or someone in the room is like, oh, I know how that moment felt like. Let's animate this expression to go into
Hmm.
that. So it all comes from a very real place, and none of it is fictitious. So
Hmm.
although it's for a fictitious product, but it comes from a very real place.
I love that. I love that. Raha, did you have a thought? I feel like you
Yeah.
had.
Well, I used to work, like, I worked at the Apple Store for a little while in college,
Girl, I
and that
worked at Fred 21. Yeah, I feel you.
it was wild. And like, I think it really taught me how to seek to understand and to really like take independence in my choices
Hmm.
and my knowledge seeking. Like, there were times where I would get a customer that would come in with a very unique case. And it was like, okay, well, before I go immediately to my manager who has like 18 other things going on,
Right.
why not try to exhaust all my options in the way that I can? So it
Hmm.
really motivated me to like implement that in my current day work, especially when it comes to like going through my mental library of like
Hmm.
what like film scenes to use in my boards. Like,
Hmm.
how do I exhaust all very Milt Call vibe where he exhausted all the options
Yeah.
before he actually asked a question. So I think that that was a huge
Yeah.
life help of just like gaining the confidence within myself to be like, I'm gonna do my best,
Yeah. As
get
much as I can.
as
Like
much as I can.
this
And
well of knowledge. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And then I will ask if I cannot find the
Yeah.
solution. But yeah,
I
anyway.
will also say it's always funny too. I feel like the best people skills come from working retail or food industry or
yeah.
any service industry. Um, Being a caterer has a very specific and unique physics to it, which I feel like directly translates to animation because everyone's seen any given animated scene with someone carrying like a wobbly, plate of champagne glasses or jello or something, and that is very much drawn from reality.
It's the position as well, like
It's
the way you
oh
hold the
yeah.
tray.
Okay.
You cannot hold a tray like this, by the way. That's not.
This is a challenge,
Yeah.
folks.
You go.
We're all gonna have bad arthritis and
It
carpal
works.
tunnel.
It works well for a silhouette when you draw it, but
It's a
but
lovely silhouette. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous in theory. Not very practical. We do have a really great question, which kind of pulls us into another space I want to get into with you guys. Um, do you have time to work on any of your own personal work? And how does your industry, kind of the fields that you're in, impact your own personal creativity?
Well, I for one have about 130 unfinished PSD files, and so
That's
there.
it. That's it.
I mean, that's what I've seen so far, and I actually did like a massive hard drive cleanup, and there's so many unfinished. I have animatics, I have pitches, I have things that I want to do, but
Hmm.
sometimes I get burnt out after a whole day of drawing or working on an animated thing. I just don't want to do anything else. I want to read a book in the evening, so or. But no, I mean, that's the challenge of being an artist is that sometimes when you're, let's say if you're at work and you're working on a show that isn't
Hmm.
quite stimulating your creative needs, you come home and unleash everything onto your personal project. So, and then yeah, so being an artist is about managing that sort of passion where, you leave some of it in the reserve, so that you
Hmm.
kind of, you spend about an hour a day or maybe even 30 minutes a day into like your personal art, your personal, whatever you're working on that day or that phase of your life. It's challenging, but that's one of the things of being an artist. It's actually like being an artist, and after I've done this for a hot minute, I've realized that it's way more than just art and drawing. It's about there's like it's a business that you're running on your own in your own
Hmm.
head. You have to like be able to advocate time for certain things and also, stability is like a weird mythology in this career path. So you have to pick multiple
Stability.
avenues. So if you're out of a job for a few months, you have to find something else to do. So you put your love and care into a personal project or something
Hmm.
else that you're working on that day and that moment. So, yeah, get involved with multiple things and make short films, make games. I love seeing people just go like, "Oh yeah, I'm just animating something for a possible project in the future," and I was like, "Yeah, put it on the back burner."
Yeah.
So but it's tough. I mean, I hope I'm hoping that one day I get to my 130 unfinished PSD files. But I opened one of the PSD files and I drew like a box of some kind and I
Hmm.
just left it at it and I was like, what was I trying to get here? But there was something.
Who knows?
Who
Maybe
knows?
it's not for you to figure out today. Maybe that feels like a next week problem.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying for years.
It's okay. You know what?
I
PSD
think there's
files are forever.
I think there's a beauty in like putting a time aside for the non-negotiable time and having
Hmm.
it only
Yeah.
be like maybe an hour per week and
Hmm.
giving yourself that grace. If there's anything I've learned recently, I forgot his Instagram handle, but there's a gentleman named Mark G that came out
Mm.
with this I believe it's on Gumroad. It's this like 4 week kind of like schedule he made. And he did
Hmm.
it for himself. He did it for like storyboarding and like people who are having trouble managing their time. And it's kind of nice to like digest that maybe like 1 hour a week and
Yeah.
it grows into 2 hours a week. And then you then have that time to dedicate yourself to this personal work that you're excited about,
Hmm.
whether it just be like doing a little pencil sketch for like 10 minutes and then following up with PSD staring for like another 40, like, it just like
Hey,
as long as you put the time
staring.
aside.
Right.
Staring at your unfinished work is a big part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
You just
okay. It's giving yourself that time in your calendar for
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
non-negotiable with yourself
absolutely
when you can.
discipline, right? And you build discipline in this whole thing, like where
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
create this mindset for yourself because it's a mindset thing. I mean,
Yeah.
before you because once you start drawing, the first 20 minutes is the worst time ever because nothing's ever going to look right. The lines are going to be bad. You're going to hit undo like 20 times. So, but it's about getting past that, and then you enter the
Hmm.
flow state. But it happens over time, and as you keep doing it. But I'm going to use Raha reminded me of something that we spoke about a couple of days ago. I do this thing where every Monday morning I watch a video called Finished Not Perfect, and it's a 1 minute video by Jake Parker on YouTube, and it's something that I just need to keep telling myself that it's just kind of complete something, just get
Hmm.
get something over with, even if it looks bad, it's okay. You don't always have to make things for the internet. You don't always have to post something. You can make
Right.
something and let it be and move on to the next one and finish that
Hmm.
off, let it be. So because there's this innate pressure now of drawing something or making a piece of art that you have to post and
Right.
so but you don't have to but you all
You
there
don't have
you
to.
don't have to. I mean, all of your favorite artists that you see out there, their drawings that they've posted is
Hmm.
what is the 15th attempt to the art. It was not their first attempt at
Sure.
doing that, They've put in the hours and then they've posted this thing that everyone sees. But every like I always have sketchbooks on me. I keep
Hmm.
like trying sketching as much as I can. But the process is the beauty of it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, how do you guys deal with burnout? And this is kind of burnout and then continuing to find that motivation. And Raha, I love the suggestion and the advice to like schedule that time. I think Vinod, Monday mornings are great. I still do my little mandalas Monday morning, Todd. I haven't stopped
I
since
missed that. That
COVID.
was just so cute.
It's just my like, and I'm not I work in marketing. It is a creative mental job, but I'm not producing artwork, but I just need to do another thing to
Yeah.
like sort out whatever's happening in my brain. So yeah, what methods do you guys have for how burnout finds us
I
all?
Therapy.
I think yeah, therapy definitely. Yeah. I think
Huge.
um kind of building into what you said, the previous question too, I think what helps doing side projects and avoiding burnout is building community.
Mm.
Is if you have friends that are working with you towards a certain, like I joined a reanimation project where we took an episode of the Sonic the Hedgehog, the animated series, and different people got different cuts and we all reanimated. So it looks different with every single shot,
Sure.
but you just have all these people from varying skill sets, but all of this passion. And they're all in this Discord server, and we're all just talking about it. But then there's like side chats too, like, "Oh, I
Sure.
love this. This new movie came out. What do you think?" And kind of inundating yourself with a community that feeds off each other's creativity. Because when one person starts to get burned out, someone else will lift them up with their
Sure.
excitement, and then you get excited, and you're like, "Well, I feel better now. I can draw at 4 a.m. now,
Right.
if you have the time then." But I think that helps with burnout, but also just keeping you inspired, keeping you
Hmm.
going, and wanting to do side projects. It also creates a sense of accountability when you're part of a project like that. I had someone, are you finished with that? Are you finished with that? Something that's not always nice to have because that's your job too. But but having your community, I think, really
Hmm.
just keeps it keeps that excitement, it keeps that energy going, and it's also a place to vent too. Sometimes people are dealing
Sure.
with the same thing that you're dealing with, and it's good to just you know uh, connect with people like that. Again,
Yeah.
it's connection. I think that
I
the community
mean,
will help you with that
Hmm.
and carry you. And of course, it's just also just building connection and maybe eventually lead to something too. But I think community has been a really big part of it for me lately
Yeah.
in just fueling me.
I agree. People are important. You surround yourself with the right kind of friends, and
Yeah.
it'll honestly help so greatly with any phase in life. Honestly, like and even doing this, like working with Wacom and working at Disney. It sounds flashy as the job itself, but then it wouldn't be. A thing that you'd want to do for a long time if you don't work
Mhm.
with the right people.
Yep.
You know,
Sure.
I love hanging out with Megan when she says, let's do a Wacom thing. But for me, it doesn't seem like a work thing. It seems like I'm
Yeah.
hanging out with a friend and doing things. And
Yeah.
I'd mentioned this earlier about working with Raha on Proud Family. It didn't seem like we're doing something
Yes.
for Disney Plus or whatever. It seemed
Right.
like I was going to
Right.
work and with some friends, and we would do mess around at work, but somehow we would hit our deadlines. I don't really know how we got through that, but
Because you had someone else on the team
that's
that was
right.
keeping an eye on those deadlines,
Accountability.
Yeah.
respectfully understanding everyone's different personalities, which again, especially for a show like The Proud Family, which was amazing. And I feel like every other week I forget that both of you guys worked on that show, and I'm like, yeah. Um, it is fun. You got to get that next episode out. The people need it. But so we've got about 7 minutes left. We've got I've been trying to just answer questions as they come in. So thanks you guys for all of the great questions. Um, I want to end with this last thought of staying adaptable in the industry. How do you stay adaptable in this industry? I feel like animation it changes. Well, maybe not like the foundations have changed, but the industry has have changed. So any advice for folks to stay cool, go with the flow, adapt?
I think curiosity is always essential, asking a lot of questions. I think recently I've been learning more about myself and prioritizing myself and what excites me. And I think that also helps with staying adaptable. Like,
Hmm.
what excites you? There's bound to be someone else who shares these interests, shares these excitements, these passions. And I think it also motivates you to try different things, see what other people are doing, see what
Hmm.
you find really cool and like what makes you feel good. So why not learn how to do it too? Or
Yeah,
why not surround yourself with the right people? So I think that's big for me. Curiosity, asking
yeah.
a lot of questions, being open to the change. It's okay to make
Hmm.
mistakes. Everybody does them. Nobody's
Right.
perfect. And I think there's a real charm in being like, I don't know how to do that. Do you mind sharing where I've gotten that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Seriously,
Yeah.
like,
Please say that more. Say that more.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like nobody knows everything, so why not learn?
Right.
People need people, so why not learn from each
Right.
other?
You
Right.
know, this goes down to like when I was mentioning earlier about having a quiet person at work. Like, you know, I I would rather have you just bug me first up, being like, I don't know how to do this. You just show it to me immediately, rather than you spend like about 2 days trying all sorts of things,
Sure.
and then we're just like, oh, you could have just asked me 2 days ago, and I could have, you know, just helped you out right now. But no, I mean, adaptability is a huge thing. I mean, you know, especially like I'd mentioned about my career being, you know, saying yes to most things and just kind of going with the flow and
Hmm.
learning it on the job. So, you know, rather than working on your portfolio, work on your instincts. You know, work on your way of learning. Work on your, you know, how you process information, break it down, and then absorb it. You know, so work on those soft skills because that'll help you a lot in crunch situations
Yeah.
Hmm.
where you're put in where you need to get something done in like yesterday hours and you have to figure out a way to like either skip steps. You can't do it the traditional way.
Hmm.
You have to do it in a duct tape bubblegum way. So you find a way. But so that comes from working on your instincts, you know, working
Hmm.
on your decision making skills when you know you can kind of you know jump through the hoops in a much more of a efficient manner. So there's a lot of soft skills. I mean, like I've said this over and over again, is that you know this industry is a lot more than just art.
Hmm.
It's about that sort of maintaining your sanity in when it comes to when it comes to a pressure situation at work and being able to think clearly through it, being able to forecast,
Hmm.
et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, and that's how you also through that means you learn how to adapt to a change because this world is rapidly moving in the
Hmm.
past like few years now, but and you just have to kind of get with the flow and you can't wait for it to, you know, catch up to you. You kind of catch up
Right.
to it. So
Right.
yeah.
We just got a question that I want to uh pitch to you guys and we'll end on because we've got a few minutes left. If you're not local in California, what is the best way to maintain community as well as find work when you are still trying to break in?
I think joining a project like this or
Hmm.
Discord.
I was
One
gonna
of my
say Discord. That was my immediate thing in my head, but
like fan projects and stuff. A
hmm.
good friend of mine who's as a great character designer at Disney. He started off as a fan art Disney fan artist, and he's back then he joined forums and he would just show his stuff. He just draw and draw and draw, and it happened he got into a group chat with artists at Disney,
Hmm.
and they started to see his stuff, and he got to connect with them and talk to them. And he was in Portland, so he wasn't anywhere near LA, but he started connecting with them, started talking with them. They started looking at his work and finally said, "They, you know what, come out for this event. We'll take a look and talk to you and see what you do." And that's how he got in. I think it's again, it's just trying to connect with people on
Hmm.
in a community and building common interests with them
Hmm.
outside of just animation. It's not doesn't have to be animation, but when you connect with them like that, they're more willing to look at you and help you.
Right.
It's a collaborative industry, so
Yes,
you know, so you're going to work with people that don't do what you do and you don't do what they do, so you kind of come
yeah,
together and
Hmm.
make something. But yeah, the internet is a wonderful place. You know, if you're not based in LA, there are a lot of you know, these little challenges, and every
yeah,
Hmm.
organization like you know,
hmm
Lightbox and ASIFA and SIGGRAPH and et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. There's so many out there now. They all kind of come up with these little engagement, like BRIC Foundation, right? Like we're doing this thing, so. You know,
Right. Here today.
here it is. So get involved, so that people at least know who you are
Hmm.
or know of you,
yeah,
and because it's a very important thing that when you know when you're kind of put up for that job or role, they kind of know as to what it is like to work with you a little bit, like or
Hmm.
even in a situation.
yeah.
I mean, one of the jobs that when I got my Disney gig is because one of the recruiters worked with me at a Wacom event, an animation dance party, you
Mhm.
know, and we did that, and it didn't quite have
Bringing
any.
people together.
Yeah. No, I do have Wacom to thank for a lot of it, but um no, but it's because of that little interaction that and apparently I did something super clutch in that moment and they were like, "Oh yeah, Vinod's got it. Yeah, I can throw him into anything." So it comes with being involved
Hmm.
with your community. So or
Yeah.
you know, if you don't have a community around you, just start one.
Well,
Yeah,
and start
start
one. And
one.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, any, yeah, thoughts to add to that, Raha?
I was just gonna say, don't be afraid to reach out. The worst case is they won't answer or they'll say
Right.
no.
Right.
Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to reach out to
That's fine.
people.
What's the worst that
People
can
want to
happen?
help each other.
Yeah.
It's a small industry.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I feel like right now too, Discord is a great place to start. Lightbox, BRIC, like there's so many organizations that have great Discord communities to go in, find people in your area, and maybe guaranteed you're probably not the only person in your area that's trying to get into the industry. But if you are, maybe make that thing. Be the person to start a local meetup or I don't know, kind of try to get people together to doodle in a coffee shop, whatever that might be. I think there's a lot of opportunity uh, out there. You just have to be the person to do it first, which is a little scary, but it's
life
always
drawing is also good
life
too.
Life
drawing's
drawing
big.
is a great
Yeah.
Life
idea.
drawing.
I
I'm a
feel
big
like
life
those,
drawing girl.
yeah, I feel like those moments end up being super positive and beneficial in the long run. But with that, we're down to 1 minute left. So I just want to take this time to say thanks, friends. Thanks, Raha, Todd, and Vinod, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for your great questions. Of course, thank you to the entire team at BRIC. Y'all are great. Um, this was wonderful. And of course, recorded so we can rewatch it a million times and never forget all the great bits of advice that we learned today. But thanks, y'all. It was wonderful to see your faces and happy Sunday.
Happy
Happy
Sunday.
Sunday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye,
Thank
friends.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.